Let's just know. Is Mr. Downs coming?
Mr. Downs is not present
Okay.
today.
Worried big.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go ahead and call our regularly scheduled meeting to order, and we're going to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to the roll call. Ms. Palacio.
Governing Board President Sherry Lowell.
Present.
Governing Board Clerk Denise Reese. Present. Governing Board Member Anthony Bruno. Governing Board Member Raul Rodriguez.
Present.
Governing Board Member Dr. John Sparks. Absent. District Administration Superintendent Dr. Manuel Valenzuela.
Present.
Assistant Superintendent Scott Downs. Absent. Assistant Superintendent Brett Bonner.
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Darlene Robinson.
Present.
Chief Financial Officer Lisette Huey.
Here. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. President Lowe, members of the board, after your review and consideration, I would recommend approval of the agenda as it's presented this evening.
A recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mrs. Lowell. Members of the board, in your packet, you have draft copies, of the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the board on June 26, 2024. And after your review and consideration, I do recommend approval at this time.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the ratification of the vouchers. Ms. Huey.
Good evening. Tonight I recommend payroll voucher ratifications for fiscal year 2024, 16 through 26.1, and for fiscal 2025, ratification number 1 for a total of payroll ratifications of $20,201,174.99. Furthermore, I recommend expense vouchers 3101 through 3107. And then for new fiscal year of 25, we are not going to need 1,000 and 1,001 and 1,002. So that brings our total expense ratification of $5,294,983.40 for a grand total ratification and payroll ratification and expense vouchers of $25,496,158.39.
Thank you very much. I've got a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Superintendent's report. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Lowell, members of the board. I'm here to tell you that even in the middle of the summer, Sahuarita continues to shine very brightly. I do have a point of note to share with you. Last time I shared with you a newspaper article about our student, Kimberly Allen, who scored a perfect composite score on the ACT, one of like 0.019%, 0.19% of the entire nation in ACT performance. Very proud of her. And then once again, I have another newspaper article there. Sahuarita students earn medals in national competition. I saw this week, and this is the National Skills USA. So the National Career and Technical Education Competition, 6,000 of the most talented CTE students from across the nation convened, in this case on Atlanta, Georgia, and our students shined extremely brightly. Specifically, I'd like to point out Jonathan Arvizu, Ian Morales, and Mariah Luna competed in the national competition specifically related to occupational health and safety, and they walked away with a well-deserved silver medal in this national competition. So very proud, again, among 6,000 students, and as I like to say, our students in many ways make us very, very proud, and they continue to make all of Sahuarita shine. So congratulations to them, and that's all for my report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our governing board reports. Mr. Rodriguez.
No report at this time.
Mr. Bruno. Ms. Reese.
No report this evening.
Then we'll move on to called public. Do we have any called public tonight? Perfect. Then we will move on to new business. Public online auction items. Is that correct? It looks like, yep.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
are.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Dr. Valenzuela.
You know, I would have omitted it if you didn't
I know,
mention
I'm
it.
like,
So thank you very much. At that point, as usual, you have a list of items that have been deemed by the district as have exhausted their useful life, and as allowed by state administrative code, we'd like to put them on the auction block to capture whatever residual value we might get. As they say, you know, one person's exhausted useful life is another person's treasure. So you have the list before you, and at this time I would recommend the designation of these items as fit for public auction.
I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We will move on to new business. Dr. Valenzuela.
Thank you, President Lowell, members of the board. The first item under new business is the fiscal year 24-25 Town of Sahuarita School Resource Officer Agreement with Middle School, Sahuarita High School, and Walden Grove High School. I know it's kind of a mouthful just to say it all. So I'll provide a little bit of context, if I may. Again, this is the renewal of an agreement that's been in place for many years. I was trying to figure it out. I want to say we've had an SRO at least 8 or 9 years. And it's evolved over time. And I'd really would preface it by stressing how this relates to our broader commitment to safety. I mean, it's our first strategic direction, and we really try and back it up through our actions. And our actions I would categorize into kind of 3 separate prongs, as I say. The first one is the programmatic piece, and the SRO is a programmatic element. I still remember when we began the first program here in Sahuarita. The police chief in Sahuarita, Chief Nolan, had arrived. He came from Santa Rosa, California. I had come here from the Flowing Wells District, where we had familiarity with school resource programs. So we kind of put our heads together and built it up. But there's the programmatic piece. We're currently working on other elements of programs, including training for staff on threat assessments, and just kind of evaluating and managing situations in an effective student-centered way. And the second prong is the tactical piece. I think it's timely, coincidental perhaps, that this week a regional law enforcement team across multiple agencies are convening on Walden Grove High School, where they're involved in pretty high-level exercises involving active shooter, management of incidents, and those kind of things. And that's kind of a tactical piece. And again, we're fortunate to have a strong relationship with our law enforcement partners here in Sahuarita and even across the entire region. And then there's the physical environment. Again, as an example of that, right now, this summer, we've been very busy on a couple of specific projects in much gratitude to our community for their support of our local bond. But we've been installing new state-of-the-art digital camera systems on all of our campuses, and also installing very high-tech, state-of-the-art surfaces in our school buildings and our other buildings as another layer of safety. So I think the commonality of all that is that it represents our shared commitment to safety across multiple fronts, multiple avenues. It also, if you notice, what a lot of those have in common is that it's not just us. It's something that we're doing with experts in the field of law enforcement and experts in the field of mental health, counseling, education, and our families and our students. We're doing it together, community effort. To that point, I want to point out that we've had great recent discussions with the town about the value of periodically coming together, as we've done before, to kind of talk about the issue of safety and kind of some of these initiatives, some of the evolution, some of the next steps going forward across all of these different domains. So with that specifically about the SRO, again, to the best of my calculations, we've had a formal SRO agreement for probably 8 or 10 years. And it's grown, these agreements cover one for Sahuarita High School, one school resource officer, one for Walden Grove High School, and two of them for middle school serving schools. Last year we had one, now we will have two, so that hopefully there will be more personalization and more targeted support for each of our middle school serving schools. But again, the function of the school resource officer is multifaceted and very valuable in multiple ways. Our SROs are visible presence on the school campus. They are there to provide education, law-related education, to be supportive role models, and to establish a positive rapport with our students. Also to provide their expertise in school safety planning, and also in addressing the primary law enforcement functions of the school as needed. So it's a pretty broad umbrella of responsibilities, and it's a valuable role. And so we're grateful to have the support and the collaboration and the willingness and the time and effort of our law enforcement partners in the Sahuarita PD. If you're wondering about the pay and how it's funded, I think it's symbolic of how we try and do things here, which is we try and find common ground, and we get people across different sectors to pool their time, their talent, and resources to be better together than any of us could be by ourselves. So two of these positions are gratefully funded through our proactive initiative and outreach and securing safety funding from the state of Arizona. Arizona Department of Education specifically. So we have two. We have one that we are funding ourselves out of our maintenance and operations funds, and the most recent one has been initiated and been funded by the Sahuarita Police Department and the town of Sahuarita. So it's a shared effort. It's a collaborative initiative on many fronts. So with that and kind of that backdrop and that information of kind of where we've been and where we are, and also where through this continued commitment to finding common ground and continuous development and improvement, where we're going in the future. And so with that summary, at this time, it is my recommendation to approve the FY 24-25 School Resource Officer Agreements as presented.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just wanted to say that I'm grateful to sort of the overarching commitment by the community, by the schools, by everyone to sort of integrate these people who serve in these roles as an integrated part of the sort of overall fabric of these schools. This is something that I think is very different here than it is in a lot of places. And I'm very grateful that we continue to have the support, particularly because we have such a large law enforcement presence as that is the makeup of our community. And I think that this is a really good way to continue to sort of grow and have a commitment towards moving forward and things like that. You know, it's definitely changed since 10 years ago, and I'm grateful that it is something that has continued to be mobile and malleable to where it is truly a program that works for our schools and for our community. So I just want to say thank you.
I think that it was something that was wanted by our community, as in the community feedback. It was one of the number one things that they wanted to see in our schools, and so it's nice that it's been able to come full circle on that. We get to see it implemented as a partnership with this city. Hey, go ahead.
I would just like to say, I'm a little hesitant. But the program I do want to pursue. I'm hoping with our joint meetings that we can iron out some of the wrinkles that I think that exist in the program as it is right now. And I hope we move forward with it.
Thankfully for the collaboration that we have on that, we can make it into a great program.
Yeah.
Blue ink, I think, has to do with digital signing. It's the digital signing format that the town used to have their attorney and their proper people fill it out.
Is this used in gathering information, or is it used?
No, it's straight, my take on it, and I read that same thing and I thought, what's that? My take is that it's kind of like DocuSign, like how you DocuSign electronically.
Good for younger youth to see officers and to know officers and to understand they're there for their safety. And I also believe that as some of our youth get older, the officers may prevent more serious issues. And so I'm very much in favor of this.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? I look forward to the collaboration. I think with all the different backgrounds that we have of our board members will add to that collaboration with the SROs. All right, we'll continue. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the ASBA Delegate Assembly Representative Alternates. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. As the board is aware, and for the communication to the public, the Sahuarita School District is a member district of the Arizona School Boards Association, which is a statewide organization that provides support for local school boards and professional development and policy services and various services related to the mission of delivering public education to our communities. And so in that light, there's a process where each district has an opportunity to provide delegates to the gathering in order to address and discuss pertinent issues facing public education and to share ideas and determinations as such. So in that light, Betsy informed me that it is time for the board to select its delegate and alternate. And I wanted to say thank you to Betsy. She's been working diligently on your behalf to provide administrative support for your smooth and positive participation in the upcoming conference. So thank you, Betsy, for that. I know that it was no small feat and there's many moving parts with that. So thank you for that. And at this point, I would turn it over to you, Madam President, and members of the board to select your delegate and alternate, which Betsy will reply and follow and take it from there.
Thank you. Denise, who are you our current representative?
I served last year, and I am interested in continuing in that
Is
role.
Tony our alternate?
I think
Raul
Raul
or
actually
you're
asked.
alternate?
Yeah.
Are you guys, I mean, John's not here. We can volunteer him. He's like, this is a bad meeting to not be at.
No, I think John still serves on the
Yeah, so-
committee,
yeah.
and so
Yeah.
they've asked that committee members not be the delegate for the assembly. So I would very much like to continue in my role as the delegate, and I've talked to Raul, and he indicated that he would like to continue to serve as the alternate.
Yeah,
So-
you guys did really great on that last year. Tony, any feedback on that? Why don't you make the motion? I can second it. Okay, so you make the motion. Yep. All right. So make the motion that
Denise remains
Denise,
delegate.
Denise,
I'll still be alternate delegate.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for doing that. You've done a great job in the past, and your experience really comes through on that. Perfect. So we'll move on to new business, Dr. Valenzuela. The consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I thought I missed something else for a second, Madam
that was me.
President. Yes, you have actually a very lean
Mhm.
consent agenda to consider. Again, these are items that can and generally are taken as a comprehensive motion in its entirety. And I do recommend the approval of the consent agenda in its entirety this evening.
Thank you very much. We have a recommendation. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Possible future agenda considerations from the board. Anything on? Right. Are we good? We'll move on to establish the next board meeting, August 14th. here at the district pod. Meetings can be found, information on the meetings can be found on our website. We don't have an executive session, so I just need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
With motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.
You picked the right meeting.